Right, to a voice you will recognise. I know you will recognise this because this voice has been in your ears, on your TV, on your radio, on the YouTube and what have you for years. Also teaches voiceover as well. But how do you get into something like voice acting? What do you think is involved with it? And what's the future of voice acting with the likes of AI replacing pretty much everything at the moment? Well, Tanya Rich is from Bath, has been a voice actor for 40 years and is live with me now. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
There you go. See, we knew we recognised your voice. I was fascinated by your story because you come from a family of performance, don't you?
I do, yes. Musicians and actors.
Okay, so who was the actor, who was the musician?
So my mum was a professional pianist and an actor, and my father was with the Midland Radio Orchestra and the Midland Light Orchestra at Pebble Mill.
Okay.
And then he became head of the music for Pebble Mill at One.
Okay.
Which you may remember.
Pebble Mill doesn't even exist,
no, it doesn't.
let alone Pebble Mill at One.
It's a dental hospital.
Yes, indeed. Yeah. Ground into the dust it was.
So I grew up surrounded by those kind of people and being in studios all my life. And my mum did voiceover. She did things for Woman's Hour. And when commercial radio first started, she got some work with that. And it was her that suggested I try to be a voice actor.
I'm guessing, though, with your mum and dad doing that, they weren't around a great deal.
No, I thought first of all, until the age of 5, I thought everyone was called darling. Right.
Or love.
Yes. And I also thought that everybody's parents wore evening dress.
Right.
My mother, they were always wafting out, and it was quite a shock when I met normal people. But yeah, it becomes normal to you. So yes, they weren't around a lot, but I was very good at entertaining myself as an only child. So I had an auntie who'd have a catalogue, and I would cut out all the figures and put them up the stairs and make families and talk to myself all day in different accents, different voices.
So you went, because you were a child, you had to entertain yourself.
Yes.
Creating, by the sound of it, Tanya, your own worlds.
Yes.
Now, you do a lot of character voiceovers, don't you?
Yes.
I mean, I don't know what your speciality is. What would you... If someone said, Tanya Rich, your speciality is...
To be honest, I am a jack of all trades. The only thing
Anybody who pays?
Anybody who really is. Yes. A gob on a stick, we call ourselves. I don't tend to do... Well, I don't do audiobooks because I don't have the time, and as anyone that does them knows, they need a lot of research and it's a big, intensive job, and I'm too busy to do that, and I get bored easily.
So we've gone forward a little bit there. But no, because it was my question. So... a world where everyone was called darling, a very sort of attractive world. You could have made two very basic choices, to either get into that world or get away from it. Yes. You decided to get into it.
I did, but in a roundabout way. So I was meant to go to drama school, but then punk happened.
Hence the look, which doesn't work on radio, but you have a certain sort of punky look to you, which you've kept.
Yes.
So what was it about punk that got you?
Well, my first love was Alice Cooper and David Bowie, and then when punk happened, it just absolutely appealed to me so much. I suppose my rebel heart, my rebel soul, because punk's a statement, it's a way of life, it's a way of feeling, it's not just about how you dress. Yeah. But I was also very goth as well, and so basically...
There's a Westwood-esque quality to you. I'm feeling that Westwood vibe.
Yes, thank you. So I basically... decided to manage a punk band from Stoke-on-Trent, where I was living, and then eventually went back into the business by becoming a voice actor. But I did go on a kind of a scenic route first.
So I said here, and I love it when I get notes from my wonderful production team, who I'm lost without, would make up adverts as a child and pretended to be married to David Cassidy, which doesn't chime with the punk thing. Could It Be Forever is not a punk song.
Hey, what a song that is!
It is beautiful.
I know. I've still got it on 7-inch. What it was, I used to have to earn my pocket money, and I used to get bored, so I'd look in the mirror and pretend that David was on tour, and he had to come home to a clean bathroom, and only Flash would do. Oh, sorry, I'm not supposed to say that, am I? Sorry, only one cleaning product would do.
See, that advert was voiced by the great Molly Maguire, wasn't it? Molly Maguire.
I didn't do it in her style. I did it like
you didn't
some
do
kind
the Flash thing.
No, like some cod American thing, probably terrible accent, probably.
So there was always this desire to play with your voice.
Yes.
How did you turn that into something that you could make money of? Because there'll be a lot of people who muck around, do impersonations, do all that sort of stuff. But there's a big difference between doing that in the bathroom or in the car as opposed to doing it in a studio for money.
Yeah.
And I know you teach this now, don't you?
Yes. I mean, I was very lucky because when I started, there was no coaching. I learnt on the job. My mum suggested that I become a voiceover, see if I could, and I went into my local radio station and said, I'd like to try out to be a voiceover, please.
Right.
And as it happened, the writer there knew me from interviewing the band, and so he said, oh, come on back, and they gave me I knew what cans were because I'd worked as session singer as well, because I did a lot of singing, and so yeah, I did it. And they just said, are you hustling us? Because you just read that bang on 30 seconds. And I went, no. They said, well, you've got an inbuilt clock. And then I did another one. And they said, okay, we need to teach you a few tricks, but you've got it. We'll teach you. And so for 2 years at Signal Radio in Stoke, I was the second female voice. So they had like a one in-house who was very RP. And although you had to be more RP in those days. And then I would be there doing all the intonation stuff, really? Where's that? All this stuff, And then I made a show reel. And
it's
then
at
I went
Frilly's Dresses. Call now.
Exactly.
Yeah, that sort of thing. Yeah, okay. So I've done that. Not so much these days. But yeah, and that getting into that was a very different world because you had a lot of commercial radio stations, and you said they had their own production, of course. And then, I mean, commercial radio doesn't really exist anymore in any meaningful way. And that world has gone, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Really, it's a lot of centralised stuff.
It is all centralised with the two main big companies that we know of. But in the old days, I was one of probably 2 or 3 female voices that went on the road. All the rest were male. So I would leave the house on a Monday morning and go all the way up to the northeast. And then on the way back down, you'd go into production houses, TV studios, whatever. So you'd do corporates, you'd do commercials. But you never knew what you were doing. You'd walk in, you'd get 10, 100 scripts. You had to be everything. The mother, the baby, the granny, And so your sight reading had to be good. And it was just a very exciting life. And then, of course, technology changed everything.
Because then, of course, you could do this from home with ISDN, and then obviously now, and then you have the internet where you can do all this stuff on various things. So you can. I'm guessing you probably do a lot of work from home now. Yeah,
most of my work, I have a studio, and that's where it gets, I do my work from. But it's lovely when you do get to work in person.
So for you, 40 years, you've seen a lot of changes. What's the constant, firstly? What's the thing that stayed the same in your professional world?
I think what's the constant is having people that can deliver the goods. And
so that's reliability, isn't
reliability.
It? Yeah.
People who have been able to change, because the way we deliver particularly commercials nowadays compared to how they were in the 80s and 90s and early thousands are very different. And, people, you've got to have a good studio. I mean, you can't just really be under a blanket with a USB mic. You can't. So those things have stayed. But the constants, I think, really is just good people. And I think producers, when they know you're good and they know you can do it, that's your repeat business. They'll come back to you. Yeah, and repeat business is the lifeblood of any voice actor. So
that's about, like any business, whether it's a voice actor or whether it's, you're working for yourself as a painter, plasterer, decorator, accountant or whatever. You've got to build your business, and then you've got to maintain your business. You've got to look after it. And, of course, you've got to look after yourself. Now, this is the interesting thing, and one of the reasons I'm so... because I know of you, because I sort of dance around the outside of your world, really. But what people don't know about you is you have lived with a very chronic and quite debilitating condition. And you've kept that from all the work that you've done. Not as a secret, because it's your personal business. But it's a... What did you explain?
Yeah, I did. When I was 5 years old, I got a skin disease called psoriasis. And then when I was 14, I got the arthritis that goes along with it. And I think it's about 3 out of 10 people get the arthritis if they have the skin disease.
This is the one that afflicted Dennis Potter, isn't it?
Yes, and he had it very badly.
In the Singing Detective that people may know, which starred Michael Gambon.
That's right. And that was based on Dennis Potter. And he did the extreme version. So basically, by the time I got to 20, my skin had cleared up, but the arthritis got worse. I'd had my first 2 operations, major surgeries, which you'd never have those kind of ops now, by the time I was 20.
Good Lord.
Yeah. And on some massive medication, but the medications that would help me suppress the illness didn't exist then. And so it's different to rheumatoid. They're thinking of recategorizing it actually as psoriatic disease because it affects the tendons, the organs, anything. It's not just the joints, and it moves differently. You can get it, in your eyes and your heart even.
It affects your hands, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I'm seeing you've been very careful with your hands, and that I'm guessing it affects the movement in your hands.
It's my thumbs really are terrible.
Okay.
I only have to. I'm showing John my thumb now, which is very bent and
would look to anybody who saw that with respect, Annie, like it was broken.
Yes, it does look like it's broken. Yes, it does.
So how painful is that?
When it goes, so painful that I'm in thumb splints. Yeah, so I have to. Yeah, so I have to be in splints. And of course, as a voice actor, you're always moving your hands. People think
you're gesticulating.
You're gesticulating all the time. So of course, you can't go crying out and. You have to just suck it up, really. And I'm also probably, you can't see, but I've got my hands on my knees because my knees are very bad today. Because you never know. Every day it's like a ride on a fun fair that scream if you want to go faster.
Doesn't sound like the sort of fun fair I want to pay money on.
Okay, but it's different, yeah.
So you've lived with this for your entire professional career.
Yeah.
There's a couple of things that come off the back of that. Firstly, I wonder whether the punk thing, from the David Cassidy to the punk thing, was almost like two fingers at the world. I'm going to do my own thing on my own terms.
How very astute of you.
It's what to do.
Yeah, well, you're very good at it. Yeah. Do you know what? I think that's absolutely nailed it. And it's interesting. Obviously I have purple hair with some green streaks in it. Many people who have arthritis of various kinds or who are in wheelchairs, many of them will have coloured hair. Why? Because it's one of the few things that we can actually control.
So that gives you that element of control. It also gives you the element, right, I'm not going to be defined by this. In fact, I'm going to do my own thing and I'm going to make my own way and stand my own ground, which was the punk thing. And I'm wondering also from the point of view of the performance thing, because I have to perform. I was trying to talk about this yesterday on the programme. It's 4 hours I do this, live, would you believe? And I do other stuff as well. But this is the big thing. And then I think about how that can, anybody who has to perform, a surgeon who has to concentrate for 5 hours, this is not difficult, although some might believe it is. You have to perform. You can never go into thinking, I can't bother with this today, because you never get booked again.
Exactly. You always have to be fine. How are you? Fine. I can be, because obviously a lot of the medication, I'm on 2 forms of medication, it's type of chemo. And of course it makes you sick.
The type of chemo?
Yeah.
So chemo is poison, basically?
Yes. So I'm on one called methotrexate, which anybody out there who's a methotrexate warrior knows the horrible effects of methotrexate injections. And then I'm on one of the MABs, which is an anti-TNF medication, which suppresses the immune system again. And so some days, I feel so ill. You get like this they call it 24-hour flu with it. It's not flu, it's this horrible symptoms. And sometimes I get really bad feelings of, let's just say, nausea. And what I have to do in the worst case scenario, if I'm in a session being directed, I have to say, I'm so sorry, I thought I'd put a sign outside. I think there's someone at the door. And literally I have to go out and stop myself being nauseous, shall we say, and then come back in and go, sorry about that, my mistake, and just pretend nothing's happened. So
you have to perform your performance?
Yes, always. You always have to do that. And, my message to everybody in life is nobody cares, work harder. And I'm afraid it's hard, but true.
Yeah, and I believe you're absolutely right. I really do. 40 years in being a voiceover and a voice actor, it's changed a lot as we sort of end our time together, Tanya. It's changed a lot. Yet there is, in a world where everything is artificially intelligent, there's no really accounting for real intelligence.
Absolutely.
And real emotional intelligence.
But that's where AI falls down, of course. The main pillars of voice acting are subtlety, nuance and pause. If you can't get inside a script and feel what that script's about, it's not going to resonate with the listener. Therefore, I think at the moment, if you're a good voice actor that understands voice acting properly, your job's safe for a while.
Now, I know you teach this. You've got a website, haven't you?
I have, yeah. My Richcraft is the name of my coaching company.
What a great name.
Thank you.
Richcraft, yeah.
Yes. So we coach people, and I have to say all my graduates are full-time working voice professionals, and they are very respected in the industry, and they are doing extremely well.
Richcraft. Is that richcraft.co.uk?
No, it's .biz, B-I-Z for zebra.
.biz, B-I-Z. Richcraft.biz. Tanya Rich, it's been a real pleasure meeting you, because I know of you. I've known of you for years, but it's a real pleasure to meet you. And thank you for sharing your story with us on BBC Radio Bristol.
Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.